Hi, everybody. I've got Joyce All Knowing here. Hi, Joyce. Thanks for
Hi,
coming.
how are you? How are you? Hello, everybody.
So I had to get this thing recording because she's got so many cool things that she's been doing. Please pray tell. You got to repeat it, but
Oh, okay. First of all, let me just ask how you have been. We have not talked since what, like August? I
oh,
mean, a couple of texts and stuff, but we haven't like talk.
I know.
You're
And
good.
we really get along so well, and I really have been falling back on in talking to most people. I got a
Yeah.
little bit overwhelmed, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely cutting back.
Yeah, you are booked and busy. That's what they say. Booked and busy. Seriously.
And I
But
actually,
you're the bomb. I have my hat off to you. And I'm not even trying to suck up because I don't like that myself. People do that to me, but you're the bomb, period. And so, people want to have you and see you and be around you and draw on your energy, so it's crazy. But you better be grounded when you talk to Linda. I say that all the time because I can already feel her. So I want to share with you, Linda, a few things. But the first thing I'm going to tell you about, and I made a video on it. So I've been going back into Course of Miracles. This is like my third, fourth time going through it because it's a lot. And for those that don't know, it was written by was she a psychiatrist or psychologist? It was channeled through her. The guide said he would use the name Jesus because, and a lot of Christian verbiage, simply because people could relate to that at the time that was written. It was really based on because her and her coworker, a male coworker, they just were not getting along. Okay. And she was tired of it. But anyways, going through that, I was doing one of the exercises. And so, I was just going through and I was closing my eyes and I was meditating on it. The next thing I know, and listen, I'm totally awake. I'm not asleep. I find myself in another realm. This realm was just above the earth. And when I went there, it was the most beautiful place I have ever seen. I mean, the sky had a layer of purple, and then there was the indigo, and then there was white as I was looking out, and you could see like the rays of the sun, but we were like on top of the sun. You know what I mean? It wasn't in our faces, and it wasn't setting either. And I'm walking and I'm like, where am I? Next thing you know, I have a guide next to me. I never turned and looked at them. I don't know who it was, but we were telepathically communicating. He told me that I was fine. He told me that the things I'm going to do are going to change and you need to start listening. He told me I need to listen more, to when the guides speak to me or hunches and all of that. And you need to listen more. Told me I needed to slow down. He told me that we are all part of the God source, every one of us, and that these are just like costumes, and I call them meat suits. He said that it's going to have to be us that come together like collectively and make a change in this world. There's so much he told me. I had written it down. I did it on a video, but he just told me so many things of how we're perfect the way we are. Our bodies, the way we look, whatever. There's nothing, like, have you ever heard people, they talk about, all these rituals you have to do to get in touch with your intuition and it's a list of all kind of rigmarole. He said none of that is true and that we are fine just the way we are. He said that everybody was on their path. And I always say that. He said everybody's on their path. It's almost like in the Bible. The Bible says, many are called, but few will answer. And it was like that. Few will answer. And some of you are supposed to answer. And he said to me, I said, well, have YouTube. I said YouTube. I asked him had he heard of YouTube, but he was aware of that. And I say he only in the English language way, vernacular, not as it was male. But he said the word charlatan to me. Like there was a lot of charlatans on there, and I'm like, oh, okay. But he wanted us to know that we are well and that we are safe and destruction and all of that is not going to come to us. That just is not going to happen, that we're supposed to go through our process. And so with that being said, that really made me say, let me wake up out of the mess, because every time I do a video on Trump or his cronies or whatever, I'm adding to the mess. Whatever we focus on grows. And so if I'm only talking about negative, I'm putting that out there. I'm putting more darkness and more negativity out there. So I said, I'm changing up. I'm just changing up what I'm doing.
Well, I was told to do a YouTube video 5 years ago, with a
Mm-hmm.
male talking in my ear. And I initially sort of like, no, why would I want to do that? And he said, you will help calm people down.
Mm-hmm.
So my purpose was to let people know he would not get a second term and just keep repeating it. But the other thing they told me is if you keep going on about Trump energetically with your fire and anger, it doesn't hurt him, it hurts you. And at first, people were mad at me thinking I was pro-Trump. Well, how could you even ask us to forgive him? I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm asking you to just let it go and trust the guides when they say this too shall pass.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, I can absolutely verify that that's true because I would watch you and you would be coming with a message of peace and calm. And I didn't go in your comments. I don't know what people's reactions were, but they probably weren't very positive, but there was no indication that you were pro-Trump. You were pro-peace, you know, and that's a big difference. But I remember, like I always say, when you were, I can even see it when you were saying, they'll be dancing in the street, he's going to be gone, yada, yada. And all that came to pass. And so now I am seeing that not just yourself or me, but there are several people that were once doing a lot of the same political readings we're doing, and they're turning a corner. They're turning a corner for, you know, for good. What I don't like to do or say is be positive, stay positive, stay positive. Spirit did not tell me that. He said that you are fine. It's almost Pollyanna-ish, and I've said that before, if we only try to stay positive, because life happens, things happen, but it's the tools that you gain from confidence and love of yourself and finding ability to forgive yourself and forgive other people and realize that they're going through something too, that it's okay to get mad, get angry, because that's powerful energy for creation. We don't have to try to be, you know, all of that, you know?
Well, no, and because my deal is the Tao with Eckhart Tolle, they are always telling me, be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
that quiet comes peace. So
yes.
we're constantly interpreting and deciding. And when we use the word I, it's about ego.
Mm-hmm.
But if
that's
you
right.
just become like you did, you saw paradise. In
Absolutely.
that moment of absolute, you were enveloped by that, whatever
yes.
that happened to me. And it's an absolute, and people don't seem to understand. They're asking me, Linda, where is it? Where is it? It's not out there.
It's not. It's in here. And that's what happened. And I wasn't asleep. When it was done, I just opened my eyes.
Were you high as a kite when it was
yes,
done?
I was. I'm gonna tell you something. This is a true story. So I get up from this, I'm like floored, you know, because I've got Camille. She's 20 and she's interested in 20 things. My hubby works third shift, so he sleeps. So it's just me. So I go and I take a walk in the kitchen. I get to my island and I wobble, like I'm almost gonna hit the floor. I'm not sick. I'm not anything. The energy was so strong and so thick. It's beautiful. And the place was so beautiful. And there were, I'm gonna say people there, for lack of a better word. They were going like this direction. They were going past me, whizzing past me, you know, but everyone was at peace. I was so at peace. You know, I've never been so calm. But they were saying, we're not supposed to be down here worrying. We have work to do. And so with that, I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to share with you about the dimensions, what they were talking about to me.
Oh, yes, I love this.
This, someone had come and said to me and Johnie a few weeks back, what about the fifth dimension? And me and him were like, what? You talking about the musical group or who? You remember that Up and Away in the beautiful blue fifth dimension? Yeah, I don't know what they were talking about. But when I went, he told me what it was. So there's many dimensions. Exactly what he said. He said there's many dimensions. And he said, first of all, most people operate out of the third dimension. That is the earth. We chose to be here. We chose the lessons that we need to learn to remove that karma, to heal, okay, and master that thing. Some people will never leave off of third dimension. They'll just come back, okay? Right. And how do you know you're in third dimension? If you're always worried about your finances, or if you're always insulted by people, or you're always worried about your health, or anything that's mundane to the earth, like I'd say a pinnacle card, if that's all you ever worry about, your third dimension. most people, they said, operate out of the fourth dimension. And fourth dimension is you're here because we're here. No matter what the dimension is, we operating here on earth, but spiritually, intellectually, you're on the fourth dimension when you have some type of a practice or a gift that you've tapped into. You listen to your guts. You trust yourself, beyond all else.
Yeah.
You make time for peace. You make time to be quiet. You turn off all the TVs and stuff, and you spend some time in meditation, or maybe you take a walk, or you work in your garden. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. When you do that consistently. And fifth dimension is a dimension where you still hear, but you are so unplugged from everything. You're like almost off the grid with it. You know what I mean? You just don't even see a lot of the things that are going on that tend to be negative or dark or things like that. And then also when it comes to being like a light worker, or I'm calling it the chosen one, you know this. And I'm gonna tell you how you know. If you were the black sheep in your family, okay, most of us have been. Like, I remember with my dad, he worked third shift, and my mom worked, I think, second or first. I don't even remember, because she had a couple of different jobs. But she would be at work, and before she'd come home, and he had to go to bed so he could get up at night. And he would always say to us, okay, if you guys let me sleep, and if you quiet down, I'm gonna give you a nickel. And so my other three siblings would go get this nickel. And I would always say no to the nickel, because I said, well, Dad's got to sleep. He's got to sleep. I don't need a nickel to be quiet. You know what I mean? And they used to like tease me about that was ridiculous. Take the money. Like, no, I'm good. Because now look at y'all now. Y'all taking stuff and it didn't turn out well for you. But anyways, so if you're the black sheep, or you find that you've jumped from job to job to job, because people that are star seeds or light workers, we don't do well with authority figures. We just don't, where somebody's like all over us or micromanaging us and stuff, because we think outside the box. We want to help and fix stuff. Or if you're a magnet for people that have personal issues, every time they come and they dump their whole thing on you and you barely can get a word in edgewise, you are one of the chosen ones. There's many things. Those are just a few that really tell you about that, especially if you have a lot of people coming through your life. You think that this person is going to be your best friend or whatever, and then they're gone. And they got what they needed, then they're gone. Because a lot of people will come and just want to take your energy because they think that you got something that they don't have. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's beautiful that you knew at that young age, Daddy needs to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't for the stuff.
The black sheep when you were a kind person.
Because I came from a household that wasn't a kind household. I'm just being transparent. My dad had a history of alcoholism. He was an alcoholic until in 1973, he had a head-on collision with another alcoholic. He was on the way to AA, girl, and was drunk. But he went through the windshield. He was in the hospital for 3 to 6 months, something like that, in another city altogether. But my mom had different kind of problems, emotional illness, I'll put it like that. Coming from a mixed background, it's a lot of trauma in that. And so if you find yourself breaking cycles, like I said, oh no, I'm not going to be an alcoholic, or oh, I want to be in my right mind and stuff like that. So yeah, that's really, for me, that made me that I wasn't interested in those things, or my conversations were different. I was very imaginative, or I would be flaunching around the living room dancing, and they'd have to make me sit down and be quiet, and all this kind of free spirit stuff.
That's how they tried to portray you, as someone off the beaten track.
Right, exactly. Or when I would go to school, I was in high school, I just wanted to have friends, be with the friends group. And so I knew some of them from my neighborhood. And so I would walk right up, which is like a no-no in the girls' clique, to try to join in. And I'm just standing there, and they'd complete a whole conversation and would not even address me. Yeah.
So tell me more about what you and Johnnie, you guys have been rocking.
Oh yeah. First, Johnnie is Tarot's apprentice. If you guys don't know him, I'm sure you do. Please go check him out. He's fantastic. He's really
nice, and he's on with Jim Lynn on Sundays.
Yeah. I haven't watched their Sunday show, but I'm going to check it out at some time. Johnnie, I remember Johnny, first of all, from the very early days, around the time of You, and he wasn't on camera. He would just show his
Oh, he was,
cards and stuff.
okay.
Yeah, and then finally he got on camera and stuff. And so I thought he was more, well, he's an introvert extrovert, which I'm like that, but actually he's quite funny and humorous. But he is changing his channel. Instead of just doing quick throws on political things and stuff like that, he will probably still do some of that. But every 2 weeks he is creating a panel, so that panel of people will come up and talk about a numerous amount of things. We're going to be looking at tarot and divination, not throwing cards. He made a point, don't bring any cards or anything. I'm probably spilling the beans, but anyways, he's going to talk about divination. He's going to talk about spirituality and ancestors. He's going to be talking about kids and the traumas that kids carry with them that they have to outgrow. So there'll be a number of topics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be good.
Yeah, I can't wait. He's gotten a list of some people together, I guess, that he usually works with. I don't know them per se, because I like some things on YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of people or subscribe to many tarot readers. It's just me. I like to keep it fresh and clean and do my own thing. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that with him. And he was like telling me that another reader was telling him that she tried to change her view, right? Change her channel to something more positive, and then her views went down. And he was on my channel. He was like, "It's your channel." He was saying, he said, "I told her it's your channel. Do whatever you want to do on your channel. They will come." I said, "That's right. That's how I'm doing. I'm going to do."
If you worry about the views, you just, I never worried about viewership, and right. I'm surprised I'm at 46,000 now.
And that's fantastic.
But I don't do the work to try to please other. I do it to whatever I'm called to do. So
right, because that's what Spirit is saying to me, is that you have to do it for the people. If I do it for me, for my personal gain or my ego or my fame, it'll all go away. It's for that.
Got it. And do you know that people ask me all the time, Linda, are you going to teach classes? And I do not teach classes. And it's so good that I can say, hey, go here, go there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really successful in teaching classes, but that's because I've had a long-term time teaching career. So I know how to put a curriculum together like none other. And there's work involved, there's participation, we break off in groups. In fact, this enhanced tarot class, they got to work on a couple of mystery cases and work to solve the cases amongst their group. And I'm telling you what's amazing. When they came out of their separate groups, because here in Zoom, you can do breakout rooms. When we got back together, they always had a person that did the speaking for their group. Do you know that majority of the time, 90 to 92% of us were in agreement without even seeing each other's card, not even knowing what the other group, one group did not know what the other group was doing. It'd be the same situation, but yeah, it was just unbelievable. I know. And they, a lot of them really, Linda, they knew about tarot from watching like you or Johnny or, people like that, but they never had a card in their hand ever, and so yeah, so that's great. Mm-hmm. It's really about teaching them how to trust themselves, trust their own intuition. I always say, you're the psychic, listen to yourself. And we talk about ways that they can tap into their own intuition and trust what's in front of them, what you see. And they always say this to me, Joyce, the cards never lie. The cards never lie. No, they don't
lie. And sometimes they go by what you want.
They do. Yeah. Or I think also, this is just what I found personally, like say every day I'm going to talk about the same subject. Then the cards get tired,
Oh, yeah.
And you'll get crazy readings.
I used to do that to myself, reading about something upcoming, and I was very excited about it. And I overread it to where I was getting too many different opinions. Right.
Absolutely. That can happen for yourself or anything else. Another thing people are always think about or talk about in my class, can you read for yourself? Can you read for yourself? So I'm like, absolutely. The only reason you say that or believe that is because you probably don't like what's coming up, that you see in that reading,
Well, my guides let me tell you something really strange. I want to tell you this story. Mm-hmm. So I lease a car because tax-wise, it gives you a good break. Okay. So I've leased this car. I've had it a year and a half, and it's a Lexus. It's a decent brand. electric. And all of a sudden the screen on the car starts going off and on like
Right.
12 times. And it made me really nervous because it's an electric or hybrid. I was afraid that it could break down in the middle of the street. And it's only a year and a half old.
Mm.
So I call Lexus and I make an appointment. At that time, they said, that's weird. We've never heard of that. So I get the mail that day, and in there is an offer from Lexus, my same dealership. Bring your car down and we'll give you like a couple of $1,000 towards it, towards another car. We'll give you a newer car with 15,000 miles a year instead of 10,000 miles a year, you know, with another lease for 3 years.
Right.
And I thought, because this car I have is red and it really wasn't my first choice. And I thought, are they lying to me? So I called and I said, what's this bull? And they said, no, it's not bull, Linda. We're willing to blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what colors you got on the lot? And they said, well, you know, because they're very short of cars.
Right.
We have a black one. And I said, well, I don't like black interior or black outside. I want a white car with a tan interior.
Mm-hmm.
So forget it. And he said, well, hold on, let me check the computer. And they checked. And then they said, there's one in Long Beach. It'll take 3 days to get here. Would you be willing? And I said, okay. And he said, in the meantime, do not make your payment to Lexus because we're going to pay off the lease. And I kept thinking something else is going to happen. But you know, when I left with that day, the car never turned on and off again.
Wow.
Is that guides talking or what?
Absolutely.
And the third day, that car was there. It's beautiful, just what I wanted. Didn't cost me anything. Lower payment, lower insurance, because
wow.
the farm said, well, how many miles was on the other car? And I said 13,000 or so. And they said, what? You don't drive? I said, COVID happened, so I'm not driving. And they said, oh, Linda, your insurance just dropped $100.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is
so,
fantastic.
But
I
talk
need that.
about, listen, some reason, it might have even been something was going on with that car, because I
Right.
said, why all of a sudden did this happen? I hope I didn't give it back and they don't fix it, because I told them, be sure to double check that and make sure no one gets the car.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's for sure. That's for
They
sure.
can get more money for a used car.
Is that right?
Yes, they get more money for a used car.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is news to me.
Yep.
So you want to talk about childhood trauma?
Yes, yes. Now,
Yeah.
have your guides sort of showed you how to? Now, listen, I'm writing my book. I am writing my book, you guys, that we're really on it. But anyway, you know, I was raised with a father who beat you rather than look at you. So I was raised in violence. I was raised always being afraid. And then when he was dying, he never apologized to me for being how cruel he was. And he wasn't a drunk. He was just raised by a father who was an alcoholic and a paranoid schizophrenic. So his father always threatened to kill him. So then, but something happened because I started reading Eckhart Tolle, and I started reading about getting out of myself. You know, Eckhart Tolle says people go to the psychiatrist and they got a volume like this big of their life. Here's your story. And at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything. That's just a story.
Right.
The real truth is within. So I forgave my father. Not anything verbal out loud. I just energetically, because he used to, just sometimes the way he looked at me, I would get furious, like you SOB, all the hell I went through because of you. And it would come back. You think you're okay, and then you would come back. So in that forgiveness, my life even changed more, where it was easier to manifest, etc. How do you deal with it, or what do you talk about?
Well, first of all, I came from probably a lot of us in the baby boomer age, a very traumatized family. My dad was an alcoholic. His family were alcoholics. My mother's family were alcoholics. My mother was not an alcoholic, but she used to be, she'd have in and out trips into psychiatric hospitals. Only later did I find out that she was paranoid schizophrenic, you know?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Very hard to live with.
Yes, it is. It was a roller coaster all the time. And so they were very strict. You know, we didn't get a spanking. We got whoopings, beatings, whatever, for little of nothing. My mother was narcissistic. Okay. And I'm just being very real about it. And when you have a parent that's narcissistic, they will find one person, and I really feel like I was that person,
Yeah.
that they will be very envious of. They'll be very jealous of for whatever reason. You know, they don't want you to get the shine, or they don't want you to be daddy's little girl and all of that kind of stuff. And it didn't help because myself and my youngest brother were very close to my dad. My dad turned to me for, all kind of stuff. He worked a full-time job. He was a supervisor at Briggs and Stratton, which they make the small motors in Wisconsin. And they also had a cab company. So he would bring in money, I mean, cash money, and have me count it up. And I'm like 12 or 14.
Oh my God.
Or seriously, he really did. He did not trust her with that kind of thing. But they were it was very dysfunctional. My dad did not understand that aspect of her. And he was very cruel. I'm going to be honest about it. He could yell. I remember one Sunday we were getting ready to go to church, and she said something he didn't like, and she was coming around the corner. He just walloped her in her head with his fist. And we're jumping in. We're kids, okay? And we're trying to break them up from fighting and things like that. Or one time he went to sleep drunk. He fell asleep. We had a kind of a big size house, and he was in the downstairs basement. And we're sitting up there, us kids, we're smelling smoke. Now mom's at work, and we're there, we're smelling smoke. What is that? What is that? And we go down there, and here half the mattress is on fire, and he's on it. Yes, because he used to smoke. You ever seen people do the chain smoking? This
Yeah.
one, this one, this
Yeah.
one, all of that. And so he was drunk. So you imagine somebody sleep and drunk. That's like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But we managed to drag him onto the floor with a thump. And then my older brother, who's 3 years older than me, went and got a tub into the washroom and got water on it and stuff like that. And of course, we didn't call the police, because everything happened in the house was a secret. We weren't supposed to tell.
Yeah.
Were you like that too?
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to tell. And so we didn't tell. And I was always trying to be mommy and daddy's good girl. So of course, I wouldn't tell. But that is a lie.
Get in trouble for it? Because they always tend to turn around and be mad at you.
Oh, we got in trouble for eating everything.
My mother would drop a plate and break it and say, "Look what you kids made me do."
She didn't go that far, but we would get in trouble for things that we didn't need to. Everybody does not need to get the paddle. Okay, some people you need to reason with and not hit. And if you can't reason with them, why would you be hitting them?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But that's what they. Yeah. That's what they knew. That's what they came from. And then I was a victim to, once I was almost kidnapped by a teenager in my block. They were trying to take me to this back alley to have their way with me. But I had several relatives, or friends of my mom that would sexually abuse me. And I was little, starting when I was like 4 up till about 14. And so all this stuff, right? And so,
how
like
did you
you
get
said,
away from the kidnappers, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, my sister. Thank God for my sister. Her name is Frances, but we called her Nay. She literally started. He had me picked up from the back, and so I'm kicking and screaming, and I must have been about 6 or 7. And she's screaming and kicking, and she started biting them. And my mom, I started yelling, and she was yelling. Then we see my mom run to the door, and here my mom comes with something in her hand, and the kid dropped me and ran off. The funny thing was, this is how naive I have continued to be to this day. This was a friend of ours, okay? And he would come around and play with my brother, my older brother, although he was too old for that. He probably was about 15 or 16, and we were 7 and 10, but he would hang around the little kids, not just us kids, but the other neighbors' kids too. But we didn't know any better,
Right.
But yeah, so you were talking about your story, and that's the whole thing. You have to find this place of peace and forgiveness to be able to offer them not just forgiveness, but I like to say atonement. Like that didn't even happen. That didn't happen. I have the ability, we all do, to say, I'm going to take that part of my life out of my life and rewrite it and rescript it my way. Because if I don't do that, I just have this story. I haven't even talked about this in years, I promise you. But if that's all I do, every time you and I sit down and have a cup of wine, a glass of wine, whatever we're doing, and then I'm telling you and I'm telling this one, that's my story. And I can't get well unless I'm able to let go of my
Unless you're able
story.
to, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not angry at my parents. My parents were not well. My parents had their own abuse from them growing up.
Exactly.
They were a biracial couple, and we were in Milwaukee. At that time, Milwaukee, Wisconsin was like the second most racist city in the North. Milwaukee was like the seventh most racist city, and we really were separate. In fact, when we moved into we were in a rental house, and then we bought a house. My dad had to go and do all the paperwork and this, that, and buy it in his name, because if we did, we couldn't live out in the suburbs if my mom showed up. It was just sort of, da-da, here we are once we moved. But yeah, that's a lot. We couldn't even travel together. The only time we would travel together is when we would go to Canada, because that's just up above us. And we would go to, Ontario, Toronto, and we never had any problems at all. So it's a matter of forgiving. It's a matter of deciding that this has got
My
to go.
mom,
It's
she
dragging
was
me
a
down.
Native American born in the home. She was,
Mhm,
her first language was Spanish, second was Comanche, then English. And
mhm,
she marked white on my birth certificate. She wasn't white at all.
mhm,
But she was raised in a white nun Indian orphanage. So the
mm,
Catholic nuns came in and they were very abusive. But my
mhm,
mom, from that day on, she said, there is no God. My parents were atheists. And she always had that bitterness. She carried that bitterness to her grave.
mhm, mm, mm.
Made me feel
Well,
ashamed for having white in me. You know what?
right. Yeah. You know what? We honestly never, as a family, we never talked about race, color at all. My dad was the most non-racist white man I ever met in my life. I mean, his friends were always Black men, okay? And they would sit down like in somebody's garage, back in the old days, and
Talking,
chat
laugh.
and talk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was never anything like that. So we never discussed it. And I wish that we had. I wish that we had, because when I got on the world, it was always, what are you? What are you? Are you this? Are you that? Or, until I moved out west, early on, in my life, I moved out west. And then, Vegas is not about color. It's about, well, the color green, money. That's their main concern. And if you look nice, it used to be back in the day, I don't know how it is now, but back in the day, if you were a good looking person, they want to put you on the table games and stuff, or cocktail waitresses. You've probably been to Vegas in the day. People were very attractive, and that's what they were concerned about.
Oh, yeah. We never went to Vegas when I was little. Now, if I go through, like I'm going up in December with my daughter, and we always have a good time up there.
Mhm. But I'll tell you that trauma will stick with you. And this is what the people have to understand. It seems to me, and I don't know if you can attest to this, the worst experiences that you've had traumatically from growing up is because you were supposed to have that, so that you would be where you are right now today, and people could come to you for wisdom or advice, or how do I let go of this, or how do I move on. Had we not had this experience, we would not have been able to relate to other people who've also experienced things.
Well,
We
it
can't.
was an agreement you made before you took the body.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I can remember at a time really angry at my parents, like, why did you guys get married? Why did you have us, because it was tough living in this city, and you are mixed, now you see mixed kids of every mixture everywhere, which is what this United States is going to turn into eventually anyways. But back then it was really hard. I just didn't know why was stuff coming at me, coming at me, coming at me. And then I also was a magnet for some of the worst dudes you could imagine, to date and all that kind of stuff. Just some real not well people is what I'll put it like that. But yeah. You can't grow though unless you are able to find a way to forgive those individuals that attributed to that, because you chose this. This is what you chose. This is what you wanted to step into. And we can't continue to blame
No,
everybody. You know, we have to.
It's agreements. And also the main factor that my guides have told me about the collective higher consciousness, the omnipresent, the God force, is it's always about mercy.
Yes.
So our goal is to learn to be merciful. And a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it's almost like DNA, but it's not, because I say certain people are born with a record and you have to go through whatever it is you agreed in this lifetime. And this is really interesting that they told me, and I'm finding this to be correct. You know how you can go along in your life and for no reason at all of a sudden you're afraid of the water or you're afraid of bridges? You died in that lifetime before at that time in water or crash. There's some people that always have a fear. Natalie Woods always had a fear of drowning.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like it comes because of something that you had gone through before.
Absolutely.
You have the free will not to have it happen again. I know my daughter was terrified of going over a bridge, so I knew she must have had an accident over a bridge at some point in her life.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And actually, I'm like that too. When we go over, especially like we used to go to New Orleans a lot. Like they have that long bridge on over Lake Pontchartrain. I don't know if you've ever been there. And that bridge, you go over that water. You go over this long bridge over the water over Lake Pontchartrain. And I'm always, if I'm driving it, I'm white knuckling it. Or if someone else is driving, you know how you ever do like the brake on the passenger side, and my foot's on the brake, like terrified. Yeah, I absolutely believe that.
But
Yeah.
energetically, since you had that experience, how are you kind of like sensing things more?
First of all, you can't hide anything. You can't hide anything. I can see everything, if that makes sense. Yeah. If I don't say anything or I don't react, it's because I don't want to. I can see everything. I can see somebody coming a mile away with some mess. I just can see everything. I can see through everything. In fact, this is so crazy. This is kind of right after I went over to this shop, right? This store. And I was looking, you know, you get out and sometimes you can see your reflection in the glass. It was a big glass window. And I looked and I said to myself, is that me? You know, I didn't even recognize if that was me or not. You know, is that powerful? And then
it made me wonder, what is the use of prophecy if we're supposed to be in the present?
Right, exactly.
I asked my guys, well, why do I read the future? What is the purpose of that? If we're supposed to be only in the present, not worry about tomorrow or behind us yesterday. And they told me the reason they even give me the things to say, like knowing what happened with a plane crash or the rescue or who's going to die, who's going to live. I know that's crazy, but you know, they really don't die. What is because it's like my Colin Powell thing that happened today. They told me last week a very prominent person elderly was going to die.
Right.
When Clinton got sick, everybody wrote me, said, do you think it's Clinton? I said, no. And then today it was Colin Powell, which may he rest in peace. Like you said, he's happy to be there.
He is happy to be there.
And but the reason I say these things, or I'm giving this information, is that what their exact words were. So they will know that we are truly working through you, and they will have faith in what you say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what is the bottom line that what we're saying? Don't worry, everything's going to work out.
Right. That is exactly what my guide said. We spend too much worrying about our weight or finances or things that don't matter. He said it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. He kept emphasizing that to me. So I believe that. As it comes to Colin, he came to me. I felt him. He was happy. He was almost laughing. It was like a relief, like I'm over this. Yeah. And the funny thing is, this is the life that he chose. This is what he wanted to do.
Yes.
But I think there's a sense of this real desire and excitement when we transition to come back and you think that you want to do this or that or whatever. And it becomes a whole lot when you come down here, especially many people come down, they fulfill their destiny, but they don't remember a lot of other things, the spiritual aspect of it, you know, like, oh, I chose to do this. He was a very educated, very practical type person. So I can't.
They said he was tough. The guys that worked for him said he was tough to work for, but he was honest.
Mhm.
He was appreciative.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
just
I
do it,
definitely.
get it done. No mess.
Mhm.
And then when he came out and said President Obama, he was voting for him. And then at the end, when he said Trump is a putz and I no longer consider myself as listen, he was on my front page.
Right, absolutely. And I'm a part of Instagram, and so I see a lot of people have his pictures up and
Yeah.
nice comments and stuff like that. So that's fantastic.
And you didn't know, but his family came here. They were immigrants from Jamaica.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I did not know. I didn't know a lot about him other than current things.
His house was probably good back in the day.
It probably was. It probably was. And I like the fact that if you think about his family immigrating from Jamaica and coming here, there's got to be a struggle in that. And he speaks to that. You know what? If you put your mind to something that is whatever your goal is, you can get it done. If you put your focus and don't get distracted with it.
Yeah.
One of the things I find, Linda, as you become step more into your spiritual self, and let me just be clear, I didn't just decide after this visit that, oh, now I'm spiritual. I've always been this way. I was very much raised in the church. Even if you look at the Bible is really like our first spiritual manual. We're not supposed to go by the Bible like, word for word for word. It's an allegory. There's an allegory. There's lessons to be learned. There's wisdoms that have been spilled in that book, and people are looking at it the wrong way or try to use it as a tool
to define what they think is
right, rather than looking at it for what it really
and also,
is.
you have to consider the history of the Bible about Constantine, about how cut and paste anything written by man. There are some pivots in there, though, especially with the
King James as well. That's why they have the King James Bible. He had it written the way he wanted it to be written.
Because
and the
women
same
weren't
thing.
anything. Mary had to be a prostitute,
Right. Yeah, because they were worthless.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, as it comes to my spirituality, I didn't just wake up. I've always been this way. And when I started my channel, I didn't know what I was going to do my channel on. And my kids really said, go political, do Trump. I'm like, oh, I don't never want to, and then I did.
Well, let me tell you what, people needed to be fed some good news. So that's the reason that got so popular.
That's probably why.
Remember, I used to tell people, I don't care who psychic you read, whatever. He's going. Pretty soon that you're going to see all these Republicans jumping ship, and it's going to be all this because everybody's in a panic about a civil war and all that. I wish I could tell you I see it. I don't.
I don't either. And I was saying to Johnny the other day, I was called the backside of YouTube. There's like a back dirty underbelly side. And somehow I ended up there. And I clicked on this lady's video, and she had some political thing, and she was a reader of some sort. And she was in there talking about there's going to be Armageddon and the what do they call it when you rise up? Everybody rises up and leave and all that kind of stuff. It was just so frightening. I'm like, oh, let me get out of here and get back on to where I belong. It was just so dark. And I bet that video. I don't know about her followers, but that video had about 35,000 views. Oh my God. Yes. And so people are sharing these things that are just freaking others out when it is absolutely not true. It's nothing you can do about it. Somebody's going to watch that. Somebody wants to hear that. But I'm just not even cut like that. So I'm not, I'm out. It's not right and it's not fair. And another thing, there's a lot of people that run through my classes or get readings, and I'm sure same as you. They're not spiritually well. I'll put it like that. They're not spiritually well. And so they need to have a gentler voice, not this fake, I'm positive, not that, because that's not real. That's not even real, but a voice that is uplifting and a voice that sees something good in them when nobody else does it, when they don't even see it, something that I don't know, they're just good and whole. Well, and there's a lot of people that need to be healed.
People who are just totally focused on when will a man come in my life? Or
yes, girl.
And that's so hard to address because they deserve it. But also you want to remind them that you can't be, it's like you said, money problems. If you're constantly focused on something that you're lacking because of this, then guess what it creates? More lack.
More lack, absolutely. And as it comes to relationships, I always say that there's two, and this is from the Course of Miracles. There's a special relationship and there's a holy relationship. And the special relationship is a relationship where you're not healthy and well, your cup's not full. So what are you going to attract to you? Somebody else with a half full cup. The reason is that you want something they've got, or you believe they've got something, charm, money, whatever, sex, sexuality that you don't have. That was a relationship that is doomed to fail. Versus a holy relationship is one where you're coming together, you know, like the temperance card. This cup is full, this cup is full, and now we're going to be in sync and we're going to come together. It's not perfect. It's not that at all. There may be disagreements and this and that. We're still different people, different genders, whatever, but there's a synchronicity and there's a coming together. There's a holiness. There's a bigger plan and a bigger mission. And I think when you work from a position of that, you have personal power and you can really love. When you're in a special relationship, there is no love in that relationship because you don't even love you. So,
Well, also expecting someone to make you feel better about yourself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You got to feel better about yourself within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It should not take anything from the outside.
Yeah, because it looks like this. We meet, oh, he's so great or she's so wonderful, and we fall in love. There's chemistry. We hear the birds and the bees and everything. And now we've been together 6 months or a year. Now I'm starting to find everything that's wrong.
Or he wears white shoes after Labor Day. You know what I mean?
Right. I start picking you apart, every little thing. They pick you apart, and that relationship becomes very contemptuous and it falls away. It's better for you to work on you. Be in the relationship that's most important, the relationship with yourself. Start loving on you, you know, but buy yourself a dinner or get yourself a glass of wine or find a good, I like old movies, get a good old Doris Day and Rock Hudson movie. And
I like Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh yeah,
Betty
she was
Davis and Barbara Stanwyck. Oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But do something like that to love on yourself. And as you do that with yourself consistently, of course, that person is going to show for you when your cup is full. But yet I still get that. And I don't care what their age is. They're looking for that perfect person or this place they want to move. You know, they want to change for no really reason oftentimes, or they're looking for another job. And I'm like, okay, well, you're like 73. Don't you want to retire? You know, maybe you might want to think about that. Or sometimes people are meant to start their own thing, but they're afraid to take that step, you know, and do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, girlfriend, you got a glow about you.
Well, thank you very much.
You got to look like, you know, like the spirit is within you.
Thank you very much. I've been really just doing my own thing. That's basically why, you know, just kind of staying away from stuff or whatever. I've also found, Linda, and I'm sure you found this too, that as you really get into your more spiritual aspects, step into the truth of who you are, you begin to lose people along the way. They sort of fall off and this and that.
Fell off.
Yeah, they fall away.
My awakening, I can be very superficial. I could fall into that. What did you do to me and all that crap. Now I'm not tripping. I just let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let it go and let God, you know.
Yeah, that's how I do too. And I'm okay with that, you know.
Because I had a big ego, and so I was hurt. If you have a big ego, you'll find yourself being offended a lot.
Yeah.
But well, now I have like whatever.
I have a lot of Gemini, Virgo, and Aquarius in my chart. Those are three of the people besides Scorpio. They like alone time. We are not mad up at the pandemic.
I love my downtime. I just got back from beautiful ocean that we rented a house, and a couple of girlfriends and I went up there. Oh, it was just paradise.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And there was no Wi-Fi really. So you could just sit and just breathe the air and be with your.
That's wonderful. So I'm just curious, how far away are you from the wildfires?
From the current ones, I'm quite a ways. The Tahoe is way above me.
Oh, they're in Tahoe? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tahoe and up by Yosemite, there was some. But remember, beginning in 2016, when I bought this house, came the massive Santa Rosa fires. And I had been evacuated every single year. Only yesterday it rained. It's going to rain tomorrow, all the way through Halloween. And usually October's is that time. And I'm so grateful for this ring.
Yeah, oh no, I
stick it
know.
in my hair. I stand out in it and I just go like this. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful. We're getting it too, but for my lawn, you know, because you got to pay the water bill, and my hydrangeas are still holding on, so that's good. Oh, let me share with you. I was telling you about this astrologer. I'm going to have her back. She's going to be there
I
November
have to
10th on
watch
my
it. You know,
channel.
I have a guy named Andre from Astrology Alert I enjoy.
Okay, her
But
name
I'll
is
check her
Zoe.
out.
Her name is Zoe Cardiff, and there's a video up there now, and it's the video. I asked her, could she chart Biden and Harris and United States? Wow, she told me with Biden and Harris. So we have the 12th and the 6th house. The 6th house is you're in front, you know, you've got responsibilities, people are relying on you. And 12th house is like the secret house, the in prison or in the hospital or ill. And she said next year that Biden was going to have more signs in the 12th house where there's sickness and hospitalizations and falling back, and less in the 6th house in the spotlight. But on the reverse, she found that Kamala was going to have more in the 6th house where she's going to be up to the front. She's going to be the main person responsible for things, and less in the 12th house. So they're going to switch where she's going to be more to the front. He's going to be more to the back.
Wow.
She didn't want to say death.
Yeah.
I don't blame her.
Andre didn't, and I don't see Biden going. But
Did
I'm
you?
not saying he'll be president again.
Mhm.
But I know he could care less to run or not right now. He's
Mhm.
not worried about his numbers at all.
No, not at all, because he didn't want to do it even this time. He came because he had heard enough of that Trump mess and decided
Right,
to
and
step into
there's
it.
a book I'm listening to, and they really went down there and talked him into it because he really wasn't interested. But now that he's in there, he really wants to get stuff done. But I feel it's really taxing on him. But Andre says he looks real good in 2024. The one who's really going to go downhill in 2023 is Trump.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I don't remember if she said that. I remember her just talking about the things with Pluto return coming, and she made this very clear, and I understand. She said that with Pluto returning, there's going to be a lot of confusion and chaos and this and that. And she said on both sides. In other words, all of the things that are happening now with the Trumpsters and their false belief is supposed to be happening, as well as those people who don't support that. That's supposed to be happening. She said a lot of marches. She saw, this is before even they were picketing with John Deere and all of that. She was saying there was a lot of marches and there'll be strikes, and the reason the cargo ships can't get in on the coasts and all that kind of stuff, all that is part of Pluto. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, did you see what happened in Italy? A bunch of anti-vaxxers marched and tore up something at some union hall. And the next day, 3 times the number of people came out in support because they were against vaccinating, and about 3 times as many people came out in support, and like telling everybody, if you don't believe it, too bad, get out. And so it gave me hope, because, you know, we're putting up with a lot with this, you know, screw you and it's my body and all this stuff. And I really think that there will be a switch. There's not going to be a civil war. I don't care what they say. You may have some people that are terrorists are going to try to do something, but there's no way we can. Back in the first Civil War was what do you call type of guns? I mean, they didn't have jets and ships and full
right, exactly. Right. And all the bombing and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then I just flipped up a card and it just came up the Ace of Cups. Okay. And that's what we can anticipate. There is going to be a renewed faith, renewed love of people, of humanity. There's not everybody. Please be clear on that. Not everybody. Some people are not well mentally, emotionally. They're not well. They're not so into Trump. They're into disturbances and going cuckoo because everybody else does. They've always been there. They're just in the open now. But the majority of people, I feel, are not going to, like you said, there's going to be no civil war. More people are going to speak up about the way things are going and be more optimistic with the vaccine and with health and healing, because that speaks to health and healing as well. Right. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, girlfriend. It was wonderful talking with you. Can you
Thank
believe
you.
it's been an hour? It flew by.
Wow, that's quick. That is quick. Oh, it has been. It's 2:28.
So do me a favor, send me the link so like with you and Johnny and stuff, and also wherever anybody can book a reading with you. And I'll post it in the bottom part of this video.
Fantastic. It sounds great. It was so good to see you. I
Good to
missed
see you. And of course,
you.
I'll be happy to come on your show next.
Oh, for sure,
My
for sure.
November is much better looking than October was.
That's good. I will
Okay.
definitely have you over on my channel for sure. I'll get in touch with you. All
Thank
right. You're welcome.
you.
Bye-bye.